Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're looking at a deeply fascinating module, a curriculum that's going to completely change how you view your own cognitive health. It's called The Architect of Active Neurons. You know, what I absolutely love about this title and the source material we're unpacking today is that word architect, right? It immediately implies agency. It tells us that our brain isn't just some static organ we're passively stuck with. Rather, it's a dynamic structure that we can actively design, build, and maintain. Okay, let's dive into exactly how this module teaches us to construct a stronger, healthier mind.
Don't let your neuron die. Wow, this is a stark, jarring hook, straight from the text, and it sets the tone immediately. But you know, this isn't just melodrama. It's completely grounded in biological reality. Because of a process called synaptic pruning, your brain is actually ruthlessly efficient. Literally every single day, your cognitive architecture is either being actively reinforced through use, or it's quietly dismantling itself to save energy. The text places the responsibility directly on us. If a neuron dies, well, it's often because we allowed the conditions for its decay to happen. It's a massive wake-up call to pay attention to our internal biology. So if the ultimate danger is cellular decay, the natural question immediately follows. How do we keep our brain active? How do we actually step in and stop that pruning process from happening in the first place? Well, the beauty of this module is that it doesn't just leave us hanging with a terrifying warning. It pivots immediately into a highly structured, actionable curriculum, rapidly shifting us from the problem right into the solution. But to truly grasp the cure, we first need to clearly define the stakes. Section 1, the threat to your neurons. We need to define the baseline state of our brain cells when they're left completely unchecked. Look, the stakes here are quite literally life or death for these cells. If you aren't actively engaging your neurons, they aren't just sitting idle like books on a dusty shelf. No, they're actively deteriorating. At a microscopic level, their dendrites, those tiny branches they use to communicate, actually begin to retract, and their protective myelin sheaths can degrade. The text makes it absolutely clear that the primary goal of this intervention is to prevent this literal death of the neuron. Basically, inactivity is physically toxic to your cognitive framework. Section 2, the training techniques. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this is where the module shifts from a warning into an empowered scientific strategy. We're looking at a very specific three-pronged approach participants learn to combat decay. It's not just some vague recommendation to think harder. First up, we have sensory input exercises. This means deliberately feeding your brain novel data through your physical senses, like, say, trying to identify spices by smell blindfolded, or navigating a room using your non-dominant hand, really forcing it to process fresh environmental stimuli. Second is the biological neuron lead, which we'll detail in just a second. And third, mental training. This is the direct cognitive load. It's the heavy lifting your brain does when you engage in complex problem solving, like learning a new language or mastering an instrument. It really takes this combined, multi-layered approach to truly fire up the brain's architecture. Let's just slow down for a second and give some serious weight to that second point, biological neuron lead. While mental training might feel a little bit abstract, the inclusion of a biological neuron lead points to a highly deliberate, targeted physical protocol. In the context of our source material, this actually involves intentionally pairing a specific physical movement with a cognitive task to deliberately forge new neural pathways. By consciously guiding the brain to link physical motor functions with complex thought patterns, we are literally leading or directing the actual physical neurons into a state of higher, more robust activation. We're essentially bridging the gap between mind and biology. Section 3, biological brain upgrades. So what exactly happens when you apply these three training techniques? Honestly, the results of a module become truly incredible. We're looking at a stark physiological contrast here. On one side, we have the dying neuron, starved of activity, physically retracting. And on the other side, the active neuron. And here is an absolutely mind-blowing fact about neuroplasticity. When actively stimulated, a neuron can begin forming new synaptic connections in a matter of hours. The module teaches us that active doesn't just mean firing electrical signals. It means the neuron is experiencing rapid, tangible, physical upgrades from the training. We aren't just preventing cell death anymore. We're forcing aggressive physical growth. The text explicitly outlines three specific, measurable physiological rewards generated by this training. 1, it increases brain weight. 2, it increases blood supply. And 3, it increases the number of branches we have.
Let's unpack the biological why behind this. Your neurons are massive energy hogs, using a disproportionate amount of your body's oxygen and glucose. So increasing the blood supply ensures they have the fuel needed for intense processing. And increasing the number of branches, those dendrites, drastically expands the synaptic surface area. This allows for faster, exponentially more complex communication between cells. The brain is quite literally upgrading its own physical hardware. And this brilliantly illustrates the core magic of the module: physical transformation through mental effort. It's so easy to think of our thoughts as invisible, weightless things, isn't it? But the architect of active neurons proves that abstract mental effort manifests biologically. Think of the intense sensory inputs and complex cognitive loads as your hammer and chisel, and the intricate dendritic branches as the physical stone being shaped. By pushing your brain through these specific protocols, you are literally carving out more mass, pulling in more blood flow, and physically sculpting the biological matter inside your skull.
Section 4. The power of continuous practice.
But of course, there's a catch. You don't just build a masterpiece and walk away. So the crucial point is that continuous practices are absolutely essential. To ensure the brain remains active, a one-time mental workout is entirely insufficient. Biologically speaking, the brain operates on a ruthless use it or lose it principle to conserve energy. Through a process called long-term potentiation, frequent stimulation strengthens those new branches. But if the mental training stops, the brain quickly initiates pruning, dissolving those hard-won branches to save calories. The architect must continually tend to the building. You have to continuously apply the biological neuron leads to sustain that increased blood supply and brain weight. Which brings us to the ultimate question you really have to ask yourself after reviewing this module: how are you actively keeping your neurons alive today? Take a look at your daily routine. Are you intentionally providing the novel sensory input and rigorous mental training required to maintain those dendritic branches and blood supply? Or are you kind of coasting on autopilot, leaving your cognitive framework at risk of decay? The tools to take control of your own neurobiology are right here, but the continuous practice is entirely up to you. So take a hard look at your habits today and decide exactly what kind of architect you want to be.